Welcome back to the realm of the mindful madman. Currently, there's a storm passing through in my area, and I was trying to get some work done, and then the internet went out, and then the power went out. And I don't know if you can hear those sirens right now, but yeah, this is this really I don't even want to say bad, but this really powerful. Let's go with that. There's this really powerful storm that came through, and it just all the light. It's just crazy because just a little bit of wind caused the entire neighborhood to be pretty much shut down. In terms of all the lights in everyone's house went out, and it's interesting because it made me think about all the movies and shows that have an apocalyptic feel to them or are about apocalypse. One of my favorite movies of all time is The Book of Eli. And although that movie was taking place in the desert, it was it had that post-storm, natural disaster type of element to it. Same thing with the movie called Children of Men, which honestly, if there are two movies that you need to watch right now, it's The Book of Eli and then watch Children of Men. Or you can watch Children of Men first and then The Book of Eli. But those are two great movies to kind of watch right now, and then pray afterwards and read your Bible. But not because it's scary or anything, but it's just very, very realistic. But I digress. So I'm sitting here right now, the power's out, I can't really do anything on my laptop or anything like that. And it just made me realize, and I've had this realization before, but it just made me remember that the way our lives are structured now, we depend so much on the internet, on electricity, to do so much. And people, when that's taken from them, even if it's for a few hours, people start to panic. People start to get severely bored and don't even know what to do with themselves, can't even sit with themselves, right? I remember last year, I think it was last year, maybe last fall, Instagram, I mean, it happened more than once, but Instagram went out, it stopped working. And everyone was freaking out, and they didn't want to lose their followers, and they would go on their page, and it would just be 0 followers, 0 posts, and all that. And although I didn't freak out, I was kind of dang, Instagram, get back online. I want to go back on there and scroll. I want to go back on social media again and be more of a zombie. Look, come on, let me get back on Instagram. It's and it's just funny how things change in a year, because although I still have an Instagram, and you can look and see my Instagram if you want to look at it, but I rarely post on Instagram. And I deleted the app recently because it was just toxic, and I wanted a break from it. I didn't want it to be something that I felt like I needed in my life, or else I was missing out on something. And when the power goes out, or something like that happens, where you're kind of forced to just sit there in your thoughts or do something that has nothing to do with the internet, it makes you realize and really question how good you are alone and by yourself without a stimulant, right? Because I know a lot of people these days aren't even reading books either, so that goes out the window for a lot of people, right? And I'm a big journaler, if that's even a word. I love to journal. So after I finish this conversation with you, I'm gonna go and journal and talk to God that way. But I don't know, it just right now it just feels very very apocalyptic. But I dig it though. I dig it. And I'm digging that, knowing that it's not an actual apocalypse, because I know that when that does happen, it's not going to be something that's fun. It's definitely going to be something that would, for the most part, be nerve-wracking. But if you have Yah on your side and you're doing the proper things now, to prepare for that, hopefully your nerves won't be as bad as someone who didn't see it coming. But yeah, it's just this weather right now is feeling very, very apocalyptic. But honestly, I love fall. One of my favorite types of weather is rain anyways, very rainy, cloudy weather. I don't know why I'm like that. I just like that. I don't like it all the time, but it is something that I enjoy. And I'm grateful for it because it does clean out the air and stuff. But I think another reason why I was thinking about this and kind of having my own like little like daydreams of like walking through the streets while the storm is passing and there's like no lights on at anyone's house and it just feels like a ghost town. Although I know there's people in their houses, but it feels like a ghost town because nothing's moving. No one's moving. No one's driving anything. All the street lights are off and all the lights are off. And because this is the channel where we discuss movies and books and poetry and other forms of literature, I'm currently reading I'm Legend, the actual book by, what's the man's name? His name is Richard Matheson, if I'm saying that correctly. But obviously, not obviously, but I would assume that a lot of you probably already seen the actual movie by Will Smith that came out like 15 years ago, like in 2009 or something. But I'm reading the physical copy right now, the actual book that came out in like 1950 something. It's phenomenal. I'm not even that far in. I'm like 100 pages in, and I love it. It was good from the. It was pretty suspenseful from like the first 10 pages, and it was like a post-apocalyptic type book. And it just, I don't know, like sometimes, and I really like this about one's imagination or your own imagination, or really my imagination. When you're reading a good book, a book that really takes you there, when from like the first page you start to just get, not even from the first page, but you know, like early in the book, you just start to get such a welcoming feeling into the world, whether it's a dark world or a fantasy world or a magical world or a realistic world. Once you dive into a really good book that has a good plot, good storyline, good characters, just well written, just great, well-rounded book, you very easily can insert yourself into their world. And the beautiful part about imagination is that when you read a really good book that affects you, you start to see it kind of materialize in your own reality. You know what I'm saying? You start to see some of the themes pop up in your own life. Some of the characters in the book are starting to materialize in people you know, right? Some of the attributes of maybe the villains are starting to be shown in your own life of people you may have a problem with or people you didn't trust or whatever the case may be. And I think that's a beautiful part about literature. Movies too, because you know I'm a big movie person. But the thing that's more powerful with books is that unless you're reading a book with pictures, most books don't have any pictures in them, so it forces you to create it yourself. So from the jump, you are kind of creating your own movie based off of what you read. Isn't that dope? Like a book is pretty much the manuscript, and you're pretty much the director in your mind, and you're literally acting out, directing all the scenes in your mind just by reading a manuscript. Wow. That's awesome. That's so dope. I didn't even think of it like that. The mind is so powerful. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and talk about that. I'm learning that not all of my videos have to be prepared. A lot of them aren't. Some of them I just come up with an idea or have a thought and I want to share. But I don't know. I just woke up today. I was working, getting some things done. The power went out. I was just gonna sit here and chill and then read and journal. But then I was like, I have my mic here. Let me share my thoughts a little bit. Maybe someone out there is thinking something similar of what I'm thinking. So, but yeah, it's still beautiful though. At the end of the day, I'm safe on my end. It's not anything too crazy, just a little storm. But it is beautiful though to kind of take a step back from all the grind and hustle and technology and just sit here and be present, noticing all the little things, the individual raindrops that stick to the screen of the window, the leaves that are falling off the trees because it's now starting to get a little bit in the middle of autumn. It's all beautiful. It all connects at the end of the day. Be more present in your life. And I think reading is one of the greatest ways to do that. Movies too, but reading is a little bit more healthier, or a lot more healthier, honestly. Because for one, your eyes aren't constantly on something, looking at something that's unnatural. And for two, I do think that the more you read, the stronger your imagination does grow. As opposed to movies where your imagination can grow, but you're kind of already given the visual. So I see movies more as an inspiration to do something with the imaginative thoughts that I already had from reading books or an article or a poem or even looking at paintings and drawings. So, last thing I wanted to mention before I get off of here, actually I have two more things to mention. One, I just saw a guy running around getting his miles in. Respect to that guy, whoever you are. And he was kind of older too. He looked like he was in his 50s. He out here in the storm while it's raining, getting his miles in. I need to be doing that, but shoot, man, I'm in my sweatshirt, I'm in my sweatpants, I'm chilling. Well, the last thing I wanted to mention, when I was thinking about the rain and the apocalypse and everything, it made me think of this Bible verse, and I wanted to just speak on it because it was on my spirit to mention it. So hold on one second, let me get that. So the verse that I kind of thought of when I was thinking about this whole apocalypse, dreary type of environment that I see outside right now, it was Mark 13, starting at verses 24. It was talking about the coming of the Son of Man. And it states here, "But in those days, after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars of heaven will fall, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with a great power and glory. And then he will send his angels and gather together his elect from the four winds, from the farthest part of the earth to the farthest part of heaven." I know that in those days it is going to be very tumultuous for many people, and it might even be kind of fearful. But if you're working on getting yourself right now, getting your spirit right, getting closer to God, then you will be saved. Endure to the end, right? But that first part, in those days and after the tribulation, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. That literally, that's pitch black. Because I'm assuming that when that happens, the power went out already. So there's nothing. The moon isn't out, the stars aren't out, the power is out. It is pitch black. Like if you got the thickest blackout curtains ever and you boarded up your windows, that's like you cannot see anything. That's wild. That is so wild. And that's a complete apocalyptic type of vibe. Because the thing is with that, you don't know unless if you have a phone at the time, you can still see the time. But if you don't have a phone, you don't know if it's morning or if it's night. But then when I think about it, doesn't that concept go away for a day or two, or how long this is gonna last? Because if the sun is darkened and the moon does not give its light, then technically there's no distinction of what time it is anymore, because it's all just pitch black, and it's the same pitch blackness throughout the entire day. Wow. I had like a whole like movie scene trailer happen in my mind as I was reading that. But yeah, so happy reading to all of you in this cozy weather. I don't know where you're at in the world right now, but definitely appreciate when it rains, because it does allow the world to slow down a little bit. Even in New York, I'm sure it slows down just a tad when it rains. So this is the Mindful Madman, talking about apocalypses and all that. I will definitely, last thing, I'm definitely going to talk about I Am Legend when I'm finished reading it, because this book is phenomenal right now. I know I'm not that far into it yet, but usually if a book starts out pretty good, 9 times out of 10 it's gonna finish good. It's not gonna like end flat, although I know that could happen, but based on the reviews, everyone said it was amazing. So it's the Mindful Madman, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.